Hello, I am Juan Cabrera-Garcia, and I'm the State Extension Specialist for Vegetable Production at the University of Missouri Extension. Today, I'm going to give you an overview of microgreen production. Let's begin by defining what are microgreens. So we have different stages of plant growth. We have sprouts, which is when the plants are set to germinate, and immediately once the roots emerge, that's when you harvest sprouts. Usually, sprouts takes between 0 to 7 days to harvest. You let that plant grow a little bit more instead of harvesting, and then you have microgreens. So microgreens, you harvest them when the first true set of leaves appear and develop. So when you have a seedling and the first thing that emerges out of that seedling is the root, but then you're gonna see some green things that would look like leaves that emerge. The first set of green, between quotation marks, leaves are not true leaves. Those are remnants of the seeds, and we call those the cotyledon seeds. Now, the second set of green things that are going to emerge from that seedlings, they are the true leaves. And once those true leaves are fully expanded, that's when you harvest microgreen. And this process usually takes 10 to 21 days. Now, if you let that plant grow and develop, and if you don't harvest it at that stage and you let it grow, then you have what we call baby green. So that's the first difference between a sprout, a microgreen, and a baby green. It's just when do you harvest those plants. So why grow microgreens? First, they are a high value crop. Expect to see prices between $30 to $50 per pound fresh weight if there's a market that will pay that for you. Now, they are a superfood with a growing market demand because they have compounds that are good for human health. They have a high nutritional value. There's many diverse set of microgreens for different purposes to enhance dishes. You have microgreens that will add aromatics like basil microgreens. You have flavor enhancers like, I don't know, arugula microgreens. You have microgreens that you can mix into salads to liven up those salads or add texture to those salads. They have a fast turnover time, so you can have a lot of cycles per year. Usually, like I said earlier, it takes anywhere between 10 and 21 days from sowing the seeds to harvest. And they're a nice side income project. And the reason why this is nice is because they're compact. They require very little space. So if you have an empty space in your basement where you can put some racks and grow lights, you can start growing microgreens. And they're relatively easy to grow indoors, and they require relatively low inputs as compared to growing other crops to maturity. Now, this information is going to help you develop your marketing pitch for microgreens. Let's talk about the nutritional benefits. First, you need to understand your consumer. People want to have healthy foods. They do not want empty calories. They want foods that are functional. We know that diets rich in plants, they're good for the health because they have these beneficial compounds. For example, the mineral content in microgreens is greater than in the fully mature plants. And you can use this in your marketing material when you're trying to market microgreens to consumers, or when you try to pitch the sale of this product to people who has never seen it or tasted them. The other thing that you can use to develop your marketing material is that microgreens have higher amounts of phytonutrients than the mature plants. Now, notice that I had phytonutrients in a bold font there. And the reason why is because this is a new term for many of you, and I'm going to define what phytonutrients mean. So phytonutrients are compounds that are in plants that they have known benefits to human health, that we have found that link between this compound and a tangible benefit on our human health. Now, these are examples of different phytonutrients that you can find in plants and what are their known health benefits. I'm not going to go through all of them, but this is there for you to review, and you can use this in your marketing material. On average, or in general, microgreens have higher concentration of these beneficial compounds, of these phytonutrients, when compared to fully mature plants. I already said earlier, this is a high value crop. So let's take a deep look into what this means. So for a 1020 tray, a 10 inches wide by 20 inches long tray, expect that the costs are going to be around $4 without including seeds. And let's break this down. Most of your costs are going to be labor, substrate, and the overhead, which is the rent, water, fertilizers, and electricity to run your facility, right? Now, there's more details about these, but I want you to focus on the last columns. And here we're going to see what is the cost per square meter for growing different microgreens, and what is the expected revenue on the low end, and what is the expected revenue on the high end. And this was taken from data from a research project done by Jonathan Allred and Neil Matson from Cornell University. And they gladly shared that data with me so I can develop this slide. So on average, you're going to expect to see high revenues from microgreen production, but you need to have a market that will be willing to pay the prices. Crop selection, like I said earlier, these are versatile, so there's many microgreens for different purposes, for aromatics. Johnny Selected Seed had developed this resource where they summarize the different microgreens that they have in sale. And they are presented in a nice, beautiful presentation, and I like it. And I know that Johnny Seed have a research team that they come up with recommendations on microgreens, and not just microgreens, but other seeds and varieties that they sell to the public. Let's talk about cultural recommendations that you have to consider if you're going to decide to grow microgreens. If you're growing in a greenhouse, just think about supplemental light, because the light increases the fresh weight and it also decreases the days to harvest. And this is very important for those of you who plan to grow fully indoors. Typically expect to give between 12 to 16 hours of light, or if you know what DLI means, 13 moles per square meter per day. For those of you who are not familiar with DLI concept, this is the daily light integral. And it is kind of like, let's make an analogy. When you eat food based on the calories, hopefully, right? So for adult male, you should expect to have a diet, a daily intake of calories between 2,000 and 2,200 calories, right? With plants, we measure the amount of moles of light that the plants get. So it's kind of like that analogy with moles of light versus calories that we take ourselves. Blue light at the end of the crop cycle induces phytonutrients, and they sell lights that they only emit blue light. And the reason why I said at the end of the cycle is because blue light also stunts growth. So you don't want to have blue light all the time because it's going to slow down production. So many growers use blue light towards the end of the cycle to induce the accumulation of these beneficial compounds. You want to keep a temperature between 68 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit, depending on the crop species, but you do not want to go under 68 degrees because it's going to slow down germination. If you're going to use potting mixes or peat light mixes, you should use 1 3/4 inch depth in the trays. If you go over that, there's no response from the microgreens, so you're going to be wasting resources when you don't need to add more of that. If you're using fiber mats like coconut fiber and hemp fiber mats, they're a viable alternative, but then you need to have constant liquid feed from fertilizers at a concentration of 100 to 150 parts per million nitrogen. If you're using peat light or mixes, there's a benefit to adding fertilizers as well because it will speed up plant growth. Let's talk about production steps, and these are general production steps, and they will deviate from plant species. So it is important to consult what are the specific requirements from plant species. If you're growing, like, let's say, brassicas, microgreens, these production steps will work. Let's say, for example, a different crop, peas. If you're going to grow pea microgreens, you need to soak the seeds for 8 hours in water before you sow the seeds, right? That's some place where they deviate. Some seeds, that's why you need to read the packet, the seed packet, will require a period of dark period between 24 to 48 hours. In the meantime, you can prepare the nutrient solution. In this case, I'm giving you a recipe on how to make 150 parts per million nitrogen. It is important that you irrigate from underneath the tray to avoid washing off the seeds because some seeds are really small. If you overhead water them, you're going to see that if you're not careful with that, you can wash off seeds and you're going to end up with patches where you had too many plants in one area and empty spaces. And this will also decrease disease pressure. After 48 hours, you remove the cover, you grow the plants, you water them with the nutrient solution as needed. And the rule of thumb here is keep the media moist, but not saturated. You do not want to see free moving water, but you want to keep it moist. And then harvest when you see the first set of true leaves appear and are fully expanded. Now, to sow seeds, there are some recommendations on how many seeds to put. It depends on the size of the seed. As a general rule of thumbs, and this is based on reading several research papers on seed density of microgreens. Small seeds, you want to put between 10 to 12 seeds per square inch. And you have a picture there on the bottom left of different seed sizes, and you have a penny as a reference. So I would say anything under radishes, you do 10 to 12 inches per square inch. Larger seeds, which is beet on the lower end of large seed, to pea size and sunflower seed size, you want to put anywhere between 6 to 8 seeds per square inch. Now there are some recommendations based on weight. When you harvest, you do fresh cut, like what you see in the picture to the right, and the picture in the center shows you what a tray looks after you harvest the microgreen. Or you can sell the whole tray, or you can bring the live plants if you manage to bring the whole fiber mat, right? If you manage to take the fiber mat out of the tray, you can sell live plants to the consumer. You want to store them at 41 degrees Fahrenheit, and they expect the microgreen to last 10 to 14 days. And the reason why I say 10 to 14 days, maybe after 10 to 14 days, the microgreen still has the texture, still has the flavor. But what happens is that after 10 to 14 days, the concentration of beneficial nutrients start to decrease significantly because they degrade over time. If you want to explore microgreen production for a commercial purpose, I'm adding my email address to this slide. Feel free to contact me anytime if you have any questions about it. Thanks.